Does this win for the Vikings keep their playoff hopes alive moving forward?
I think so. We have discussed this a number of times on a number of segments and episodes in which we believe that the Vikings' record does not reflect their ability to play football. We know that they've had so many games to where they just fell short, or it was because they lost to a last-second field goal. Not to say that that doesn't mean that you didn't deserve to lose, because obviously you were put in that situation to lose in the first place. But overall, the Minnesota Vikings are definitely not a 5-5 football team. Kirk Cousins is playing, I'm going to say it, MVP caliber football, because he is also, alongside Carson Wentz, to be the only two quarterbacks to have less than 5 interceptions or something of that nature. And he went out and he diced up this Green Bay defense. He was sacked twice, but 341 for almost 10 yards per attempt and 3 total touchdowns with a passer rating of 128.4. Mind you, Green Bay doesn't have the greatest defense in the world. I understand that. But a divisional game, the way that this was, and how he found a way to dice up this entire defense from beginning to end, it was legitimately a shootout. I mean, if you look at it, the box score, aside from the first quarter where it was 3-9, 7-7, 7-7, 14-11, like they were going back and forth the entire game, and it came down to a literal last-second field goal, except they were on the winning side this time. And I think that speaks volume to the character that Mike Zimmer has this team going into the locker room. Or Mike Zimmerman, I always forget his name for whatever reason. They were very, very assertive in the run game. Granted, Dalvin Cook didn't really have the greatest games, but they didn't want to go away from it. They kept the defense honest. 22 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. And Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. You can make the argument. Man, that could be the best wide receiver tandem in the league. But Jay Jettas, man, holy shit. Justin Jefferson went off for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he averaged 21 yards per reception. That is outrageously incredible. So I really think that this Minnesota team can make a run. However, their biggest challenge is going to be their defense. As I just stated, bringing it into the Green Bay side, Aaron Rodgers was able to like the salt guy, that he was able to dice it up. You know
Salt
what I'm
Bay.
saying?
Salt
And
Bay.
look, he was able to, carve up the chicken and carve up the meat, whatever it is he was cutting up that day. My God, Aaron Rodgers went off for 385 from 4 touchdowns, and his passer rating was 148.4. There was no defense in sight today, outside from each team getting a couple of sacks. Holy shit. I mean, like Aaron and Kirk were going shot for shot. Both offenses looked great. But again, the only way Minnesota is going to lose is the defense being incapable of stopping the opposing offense. If you're putting the weight on Kirk's shoulders, he's showing you point blank he can do it. This isn't the Kirk Cousins of old, who is one game have 3 touchdowns and have a perfect passer rating, and the next have 4 interceptions. No. Kirk Cousins is having himself a damn year. And if I'm not mistaken, Kirk Cousins has 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions this season, and just under 3,000 passing yards. So, Kirk Cousins is playing damn good football. So, I want to say kudos to them. Shout out to my Vikings fans, the friends that I do have. I got Darian and Trevin and Kevin and Jared and a couple of other people. I don't know why I know so many Vikings fans, but I think that this speaks volumes to this team. I think Kirk Cousins is putting this team in a position to win. And, oh, man, if they can make a run, I think it's going to be exciting to see what the NFC turns out to be.
I mean, Kevin, I don't really know what else to add to it, but just to kind of dive into the game itself, this was a phenomenal performance, I thought, from both teams offensively, because when I look at just the stats to go along with that, I mean, both teams were over 50% with their third down efficiency today. Green Bay was 7 for 11. And Minnesota was 9 of 13. So offensively, both teams were moving up and down the field at will against opposing defenses. But this is one of those games where it's really kind of sucks to see one team take the L, just because more than likely they did enough to probably win the game, but the Vikings were able to get that last second field goal to give them the win over Green Bay. I mean, just to kind of hit on the points that you were making, I mean, Kirk Cousins is having a phenomenal year. This is not like what he was doing back in his Washington days, where he was playing inconsistent or up and down throughout large stretches of his tenure there. And this is by far his best year that I've seen him play personally. The guy is dicing up defenses left and right on a consistent basis. And you know what? When you've got targets like Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen to throw to, life is a lot easier compared to not having those guys. When I look at Minnesota overall, even though that they are a 5-5 team, I still am of the mindset that this is a playoff caliber team. It's just like you mentioned, though. Can that defense hold up? I remember I made an argument with KC about a month ago when they were kind of in their slide. And I was of the mindset if that KC defense could hold opposing offenses to under 25 points a game, that could be probably the best case scenario for them to win games. And I think with Minnesota, I think that same rule applies to them because their defense is just not that good. I mean, granted, you're going up against Aaron Rodgers, the former MVP from last year. And I mean, Rodgers gave it to him today. There's no other way to say it. But they did enough to get Green Bay the L and get Minnesota the win. And when I look at the Vikings' upcoming schedule, I see some winnable games here. They play the 49ers next week. They play the Lions after that. And then they play the Steelers and the Bears. Those next 4 games are all winnable games for the Vikings. Granted, it will get more difficult towards the end of the season because they have to play the Rams and the Packers before the end of the year. But the Minnesota Vikings, this next month is absolutely pivotal for them. There are some winnable games here. And if they just play their cards right and they play up to their competition and not down to it, they should win these next 4 games. I mean, going into that Rams matchup at the end of the year, you'd be sitting at 9-5 if you win these next 4 games that they have on their slate. So, Minnesota, they're in control of their own destiny right now. And with the way that Kirk Cousins has been playing, I would like to assume that it would continue. But it's like you said, Kevin, that main issue is by far and away the defense. And if that defense cannot hold opposing offenses to under 25 points a game, it's going to be a tough road for Minnesota moving forward. But a great win against Green Bay. I mean, arguably I had them as the number 1 team in our power rankings last week. And I don't know really what more you could ask. I mean, Kirk balled out today. Justin Jefferson balled out today. And, that's why the Vikings are still sitting in a, they could be sitting in a better place than 5-5. But this team definitely has the pieces to move forward to get to a playoff berth. I'm definitely of that mindset, though.